Glorious movie recap here. In today's recap, I'll be talking about a 2012 fantasy action movie titled Wrath of the Titans. Spoilers ahead. Long ago, people were controlled by gods and monsters until the half-god Perseus slew the Kraken and saved humanity. When his father Zeus gave him the opportunity to become a god, he declined and decided to live as a mortal instead. Even when his wife passed away, the man did not seek assistance from the gods. Instead, he intends to spend out his days beside his son Helios as nothing more than an ordinary fisherman. Their serene life was short-lived as the man's father Zeus decided to visit them at night and deliver horrible news. The gods appear to be losing their powers as a result of mankind's unwillingness to worship, and they are no longer able to hold the demons behind the gates of Tartarus, which protect the underworld, threatening to unleash Cronus, the father of all gods. Zeus urges Perseus to assist him halt the disaster, but the warrior declines yet again, claiming that he lacks the power to make a difference as a demigod. With no other option, the deity chooses to accompany his brother Poseidon and son Ares to the gates of Tartarus to restore the walls. They soon encounter Hades, Zeus's brother, who still carries a hatred against everyone for exiling him to the underworld. The wicked deity betrays his family, quickly releasing demons on the gods, shooting countless fireballs that catapult everyone into the air. Zeus fights with his brother, but they are rapidly overrun because of their weakened state, and Poseidon is knocked unconscious by the relentless onslaught. Things worsen when Ares chooses to betray his father by repeatedly punching him across the face and knocking him out. The traitor approaches the deity and receives the thunderbolt, causing a surge of energy to run through his body as he gains strength. At the same moment, a swarm of chimeras emerges from the mountains and begins flying towards the humans, with the purpose of annihilating them. Perseus spots a flying missile going towards their settlement and promptly pursues it after comprehending its threat. The gigantic object collides with the buildings, generating a large explosion and drawing the residents' attention as they all assemble around the crater. Soon after, the nasty creature begins assaulting the humans with its tail and finally leaping out of the earth, inflicting immense damage in the surrounding region. The beast soon kills the humans by knocking them down and burning them alive, but only Perseus runs into the danger, urgently searching for his kid. The creature emerges in front of the man and starts throwing flames everywhere. Fortunately, Perseus recovers swiftly and continues pursuing the enemies. The warrior manages to jump upon the creature's head while stabbing it repeatedly, but is finally driven off by the chimera as it roars violently at the humans. The monster lunges at Perseus and uses immense effort to knock him away, finally dragging the warrior across the field as they both crash out of the buildings. But the demigod recovers quickly and traps the monster by pulling apart the creature's heads with the metal chains. Perseus tricks the chimera into lighting itself on fire, eventually slaying the foe as the monster burns from its own flames. The demigod wins the fight despite several injuries on his body and soon learns that his son Helios survived the attack thanks to his brave combat. Perseus quickly transports the youngster to the Temple of Gods so that he might pray to his father for assistance, but he discovers that the temple has been destroyed by no believers as all the statues are shattered into bits. The two ultimately come to a statue of Zeus and begin praying to the deity, causing a shadow to emerge within the structure, which turns out to be Poseidon, who had escaped the earlier ambush. But the deity is clearly injured as he tells Perseus of Zeus's fate and assures him that he is the only one who can redeem the universe. The deity desires that the demigod locate his son Agenor, who is now with Queen Andromeda. He tells the father that his kid knows the path to the fallen deity Hephaestus, who has the secret to overcoming Cronus, before slowly crumbling to dust and fleeing into the winds, leaving just his trident behind. At the same moment, Ares kidnaps Zeus and expresses his anger for his father as a result of the god's partiality for his brother, Perseus. Hades makes fun of his brother's current situation and discloses his magnificent plan to sacrifice Zeus to their father. He leads the deity to the center of Tartarus, where Cronus's huge body lays slumber. They bind the deity and begin draining his abilities, finally transforming the energy into lava and transferring it to the huge giant. Hades reveals that Cronus has offered them immortality in exchange for liberating him, despite the fact that the humans' unwillingness to pray is causing the gods to lose all their abilities, but Zeus laughs at his brother's naivety, stating that the Titan will never spare anybody. Meanwhile, Perseus dons his armor once again and bids farewell to his only son before mounting atop his magical beast and soaring towards the Queen Andromeda. Pegasus transports the demigod into the sky, where he notices armies preparing to fight near the entrance to the underworld. Perseus runs towards the troops and lands in front of everyone, as the people recognize and shout for their hero who slayed the kraken. After many years apart, the man eventually sees the queen and explains the causes of the disaster, recommending that they employ Agenor, who is also a demigod. They enter the jail cells, where Agenor is being punished for passionately hugging with the queen. Perseus informs the guy that Hades murdered his father and offers the half-god a chance for retribution if he brings them to the fallen deity Hephaestus. The warrior persuades his cousin to join the cause, and they set off immediately for the Mystery Island, which only Agenor can identify with the trident. The enormous fields materialize in front of the gathering, and the individuals arrive on an area filled with massive trees. When gigantic contraptions are triggered, Perseus instantly understands that something is up. Agenor is imprisoned inside a gigantic trap. A tree is hurled at Perseus before they can save him, and he is surprised to see a large creature emerge in front of him. Perseus urgently tries to flee while enticing the monster away from his allies, but before the soldiers can attack their foe, a second monster appears behind them. The people try to assault with their arrows, which enrages the beast, who pushes the warriors aside like rag dolls and kills them like tiny insects. Meanwhile, Perseus continues to flee the gigantic beast, wreaking devastation wherever he goes and destroying all the trees in the vicinity. The demigod ultimately makes it to a cliff, where he discovers a giant set trap and chooses to make a final stand. The Cyclops charges at the guy, shouting violently as he attempts to crush him, but Perseus manages to pierce the creature's hand, causing the opponent to scream in agony. The soldiers seize the opportunity and attempt to tether the monster with their ropes, but the foe refuses to be vanquished, continuing to resist and flinging Perseus to the ground. The monster ultimately breaks free from the chains, but Perseus activates the trap, which sends a tree trunk into the enemy's head, knocking him unconscious. The warrior triumphantly approaches the behemoth, but quickly sees that another giant is racing forward to save his companion, prompting Perseus to battle once more. After witnessing Perseus brandishing the trident, the older Cyclops comes just in time to put an end to the struggle, dropping Agenor to the ground and bowing in surrender to the humans. The enormous humanoids are able to guide the humans to their destination, finally arriving in front of a massive structure where the fallen deity sits. The soldiers carefully enter the building and are shocked to discover that Hephaestus knows them immediately away. It comes out that the old guy is the one who constructed everything for the gods. They discover that the only way to vanquish Cronus is to combine the three legendary weapons of the deities to form the spear triumph. To get the remaining goods, the heroes must travel to the heart of Tartarus, where Hades lives, and the only route is via the labyrinth that the old man has created. They instantly walk towards the notorious maze, finally arriving in front of a giant skyscraper whirling towards the core of the earth. The individuals make it onto the structure, but an oncoming missile falls directly in front of them, sending everyone tumbling backwards. Ares discovered their whereabouts as one of the troops was worshipping him. And he dispatches the fighters with ease, as if they were nothing more than insects. The malevolent deity approaches the girl who was praying to him and stabs her with his enormous sword. Fortunately, Hephaestus was able to unlock the door to the labyrinth, and the elderly man rushes in to halt Ares, sacrificing himself in order to allow the people to escape into the labyrinth. They make it inside the vast structure and rapidly understand the complexity of the routes, forcing the individuals to continue into the unknown. After several hours of traversing the puzzle-like construction, the individuals quickly notice that something is awry as the walls start to move towards them. They flee the area as the buildings appear to come to life, smashing all that is left behind. Perseus becomes separated from his buddies while attempting to avoid the approaching walls, as he is forced away and falls further deeper into the structure. Before the guy can recover from his fall, a monster rushes him from behind and attempts to puncture him with its horns. Fortunately, Perseus is able to push the opponent away and discovers that the beast is a ferocious minotaur. The beast hits the guy again, but this time the warrior redirects the attack towards the wall and breaks off the enemy's horn, while using it as a weapon to stab the monster in the stomach repeatedly, finally killing it. Perseus goes forward as his comrades arrive, and they quickly discover that the entrance to Tartarus is directly in front of them. At the same moment, Cronus has finally consumed all of Zeus's energy, prompting the giant titan to open his massive eyes. When Hades sees his father's might, he begins to regret his decision to liberate the monster, but he is interrupted by his brother's plea for his name. Zeus apologizes for sending Hades to the underworld and begs his brother to do the right thing, but before the deity can change his mind, Ares strikes the deity from behind, knocking him to the ground. Hades immediately recovers and begins to strike back, finally shoving both of them into the abyss as they fall from the cliffs. Fortunately, Perseus arrives just in time to discover his father dissolved into the earth. The warrior is able to liberate Zeus from the bound by utilizing the god's weapon, but not before Ares enters and generates a great shockwave that pushes the warriors away. Before the wicked deity can finish the job, Hades enters and briefly stops the adversary, allowing them a chance to flee. However, the god of war manages to seize the pitchfork and toss it with incredible force. As a result, Zeus was pierced in the back. As the gigantic titan bursts free from the cave, the entire structure begins to disintegrate, but Zeus is able to seize the god weapons and crash them together, generating a great explosion that teleports the heroes away. They rush the elderly man inside the army base and place him on the table, but Zeus instructs Perseus that he must get the lightning bolt from Ares in order to make the Spear of Triumph and prevent Cronus from destroying the world. With no other option, the protagonist resolves to pray to the god of war and challenge his brother to a fight within Zeus's temple. As everyone shouts for his win, the demigod bids farewell to his companions and mounts Pegasus into the skies. Soon after, the mountain in the distance bursts, causing a gigantic shockwave that covers the entire army and sending innumerable demons and balls of fire crashing towards the battlefield. The monsters charge towards the army frantically, while the soldiers attempt hard to fight back, but the mortals are plainly no match for the demons of hell, as they are slaughtered one by one. Meanwhile, Perseus arrives at Zeus's temple to meet the god of war, only to discover that Ares has kidnapped Helios, so that the youngster might see his own father's death. Furious at the guy for endangering his child, Perseus jumps in and attempts to strike the deity with god weapons, but he is immediately overwhelmed by the opponent and thrown to the ground. Ares proceeds to strike the warrior while the small kid looks on helplessly, punching the man away and repeatedly crashing him into the pillars before flinging him to the ground. Just as Ares is ready to deliver the killing blow, the malevolent deity spots Helios rising up against him despite the insurmountable odds and is enraged by the small boy's bravery. This provides Perseus the opportunity to attack as he tackles Ares away and stabs him in the chest, finally choking him out. He snatches the god's weapon and stabs his brother in the stomach, transforming the deity into nothing more than dust. Perseus swiftly unites the three gods' weapons, finally producing the Spear of Triumph, which flashes continually with strength. Simultaneously, Hades appears in front of Zeus and apologizes for his treason before grasping his brother and sharing his strength, thereby restoring the deity. They enter the battlefield and begin eliminating the demons one by one, utilizing their magic to knock the creatures backwards and open a path to the gigantic giant. Cronus emerges from the mountains and rages madly against the gods. However, Zeus intends to attack first, charging up all of his energy and releasing it into the monster, producing massive explosions on the enemy's body. But this just irritated the giant, who then struck the surrounding mountain, killing everything in sight. Fortunately, Perseus gets to fly into the battlefield with a magical spear in hand, intending to destroy the gigantic monster once and for all. When the gigantic creature notices this, it unleashes a stream of lava on the warrior, forcing the demigod to evade the attack in midair as the flames crash to the earth and consume the whole army. When Zeus realizes that his son is in danger, he begins building up a final strike with his brother and throws the energy at Cronus, generating a powerful shockwave that pushes the opponent backwards and allowing Perseus to soar closer to the enemy. In a moment of wrath, Cronus unleashes a powerful strike as he punches the earth, causing a great explosion, while Zeus desperately tries to rescue his brother by guarding against it. The enemy's force, however, is too much, and the energy ultimately smashes through the barrier, sending Zeus hurtling backwards onto the rocks. Perseus seizes the opportunity and flies right into the monster's face, charging up the Triumph Spear, making it past the flames and into the enemy's mouth finally. The demigod is able to cut the beast with the spear and then throws the weapon into the monster's body, releasing enormous quantities of energy. As all the warriors shout in victory, the giant titan screams in anguish and begins bursting from within, generating a great explosion that blocks out the whole sky. After everything has calmed down, Perseus discovers his father with Hades and understands that Zeus has been gravely wounded in the battle. He walks to his father, trying hard not to cry, But the deity merely urges him to utilize his talents properly. He thanks his kid for everything he's done before gently fading away into oblivion. Perseus returns to his son and chooses to give him his sword, asking him to always remember what the gods have done for humanity and to never forget who he truly is. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and make sure to turn on notifications for more content. Thanks so much for watching.